There are more ways to wealth with Sharesies. Save with a great rate. Insure your car with no worries. Or join a KiwiSaver scheme with Real Choice. It's your wealth, your way. Do more with Sharesies.
Property's easy, you just buy it and hold, essentially. I have grown wealth from owning property, but I never bought a single one of them as an investment. Life happens. You can make as many 5, 10, 15, 50-year plans as you want. The plan is going to go out the window probably within 12 months. We are in a newly unique, uncertain environment where the world trade system, quite frankly, is changing.
Kia ora koutou, I'm Garth Bray, and we're doing things a little differently on Shared Lunch for the next few weeks. More Than Money is about exploring the wealth choices that change us. Let's open up the conversation about what wealth really means beyond investing. We'll hear from some familiar folks and chat about the choices they've made on their wealth journey. Today we're talking to independent economist and the weatherman of the New Zealand property market, Tony Alexander. But first, some important information you should always consider when investing.
The experiences shared in this episode are not advice or a recommendation or opinion by guests to invest or act in the manner they have. An appearance on this series is not an endorsement by Sharesies of the views of the presenters or guests. Their views are their own.
Before we get to our conversation today, Karina from our social media team hit the streets to find out what Kiwis think about wealth.
What is wealth to you?
Obviously there's financial wealth, there's obviously wealth and happiness, I think, and living a good life.
The word wealth is synonymous with money. True wealth is a lot more than that. So when you talk about real wealth, it's the wealth of the environment, the wealth of a healthy planet.
Happiness and health. As long as you've got your health and love and family, those are the most important things.
It's stuff that you can't change. Yep. So it's like, these are the cards you're dealt, play them well, make them work.
It's kind of like freedom. I grew up in a big family and I had a lot of hand-me-downs and stuff when I was little, and there were things that we couldn't get. So having that freedom to go to the supermarket and buy the nice cereal.
And not the Pams. Yeah. You're like, yes.
Especially when you've got family and kids and stuff, is removing the worry. It takes many forms, but money helps all of those areas. So,
Tony Alexander, a man known for his forecasts. You're like the weatherman of money in the housing market to me, I think. You can sort of look out and see what's going on. I would have thought you have a very good idea of what wealth means to you. Do you care to share?
Oh, for me, it means if I were to receive no income at all from any source for the next 2 years, I'd still be okay, be able to stay where I am, feed myself, help out the family if necessary, because of a good financial backstop, basically. So for me, it means good financial backstop, as opposed to necessarily a feeling of financial success or something like that.
Wow, and I guess that sense of certainty would be there the whole time, whether you need it or not.
Exactly. There's always a good feeling that if something really, really goes bad, if we have huge medical expenses, for instance, that we're going to be able to pay them, something like that, either for myself, my wife, or the children.
How does the feeling of wealth of the kind that you talk about, how would that sort of change your approach to risks or investments or so on? How does it change your outlook?
If you're wanting to build wealth, you want to relatively early on in your working career think about, well, how are you best going to make it? And what I've seen around me over the decades is basically far too many people willing to bite off their nose to spite their face. They may have themselves a good job or a good business, but something upsets them about it. And rather than, as the Chinese would say, swallow the bitterness, they basically say, that's it, man, I'm out of here. Find what you are good at and you work it like you work nothing else apart from your marriage, maybe, in your life. And I guess that's what I did in the corporate sector. It wasn't always the most enjoyable experience, but every fortnight, kabam, kabam, there was a salary coming along, kabam, 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 and that accrues over time. So, my advice to people would be, don't be hopping around like a flibbity gibbet necessarily from one thing to another. As early as possible, find out sort of what you're good at, and hopefully there's a chance it's a reasonably good earner as well, and focus your investment on that, doing what you do better.
Flippity gibbet is such a great word. Thank you for reintroducing that to the discourse again there, Tony. If I can think about good financial decisions, and you've talked about one there, which is sort of stable employment, bit of an ask these days, is there something you can zone in on that you could share that was a really sort of great particular financial decision that you might have made at some point? Can be big, can be small.
It wouldn't be on the property side. I mean, property's easy. You just buy it and hold, essentially. And for me, I have grown wealth from owning property, but I never bought a single one of them as an investment. It was always a family reason. So I couldn't actually, despite me always talking about property, say or claim some sort of, that was a great investment property decision. No, that was pure luck and just holding stuff for the long term. For me, my answer to questions like that has always been my best investment has been in my career, in finding what I was good at and then changing the job around, especially when I was working at the BNZ. So I did less of the deep background research in the back room and more of the front focusing, talking to people, writing in a language people could understand. I focused on my strengths and the remuneration followed from that. So in a way, that was my best financial decision, focusing on my career and what I could achieve from that. And the wealth just sort of accrued off to the side, quite frankly.
And you had fun while you were doing it, I'm presuming.
And I've had fun along the way and still am in my role as an independent economist, and feel that I have, I guess, made the world slightly better for maybe Kiwis on average. I haven't aimed to improve the world for the large corporates, necessarily for the fund managers or anything like that. My focus has always been on the average person in the street, looking at managing their family finances, buying their own property or something like that, and trying to at least give them some reasonable information in a language they could understand. And that's what I'm going to continue doing for a wee while longer.
Good to hear. Well, I want to add a little drama to the story if I can. There must have been a point where you faced some difficulty of some kind or had to make a tough decision particularly around sort of wealth and financial matters. Is that something you're happy to talk about?
Well, in terms of everyone has challenges along the way, basically life happens. You can make as many 5, 10, 15, 50-year plans as you want. The plan is going to go out the window probably within 12 months because new challenges will come along. And the secret is to be able to recognize when the ground is shifting under your feet and develop an adaptation, adapt to changes in your environment. And I guess for me, the biggest challenge, quite frankly, came right at the start of my career, or just under 40 years ago, when I had 5 months working at the Reserve Bank of Australia in Sydney, and I just basically got really, really bored, and I left. And there was a period when I was thinking, oh my goodness, I think I've thrown away those 5 years at university. Maybe I'm not going to be an economist overall. I eventually became a graduate trainee at Westpac and spent 6 months in a bank branch. That was fantastic. There was no economics involved at all, and it allowed me to have a good reset at the time. So taking some time out, just stepping away a little bit, for me was actually extremely useful at the time, and it helped with what was essentially a crisis of that long-term career projection.
If you had something that you wanted to share that Kiwis might want to think about changing this year, particularly the Sharesies audience who are interested, I suppose, in their prospects and in some of the predictions and forecasts that you've been talking about. What do you think people should change this year?
Change the frequency with which you review your portfolio allocation, because we are in a newly unique, uncertain environment where the world trade system, quite frankly, is changing, where the geopolitical environment is challenged by the legitimate long-term rise of China. There is a chance for far greater volatility than had been the case in the past. And I would fully expect the very large hedge funds are devoting increased research resources to trying to figure out exactly what's going to happen with US policies, etc. And individuals maybe need to do the same thing. So I'll just be keeping a closer eye on my portfolio allocations and maybe just the allocations that are done by the fund managers generally.
Wow. a summer of watching the news. Thank you very much, Tony Alexander, and thank you all for watching. You'll catch more of More Than Money here on Shared Lunch.